Good evening. Scott's off tonight, and we begin at 6 o'clock with new information about what you think of redistricting. That's the Trump administration's push to redraw our congressional districts. So these are new poll results, and they come today, just one day before Vice President J.D. Vance makes a second visit to Indiana in 2 months. 13 News reporter Emily Longnecker breaks down now what is at stake.
A majority of Hoosiers think redistricting right now is the wrong way to go. That's according to a poll by Independent Indiana, a nonprofit focused on getting independents elected in the state.
It's not surprising that it's not popular among Democrats, but it's also very unpopular among independents. And even the numbers in the Republican respondents, it's actually lower than we thought it would be. You think something like this would be really popular. Less than 2/3 of Republicans want redistricting.
According to the 604 registered voters surveyed, 53% oppose redistricting, 34% support it. The remaining 13% don't know. When it comes to what Indiana lawmakers really think, a clear picture has been harder to come by. A handful of lawmakers have publicly stated their position, some for and some against. The rest have stayed tight-lipped, even 2 months after the vice president's first visit to discuss the topic with the governor and Republican leadership. Now, a second visit from the vice president on Friday.
They still don't have any definite indication that the governor's planning to call a special session. The governor, of course, is saying he wants to wait and see what the legislators want to do. So I think this is putting pressure to get this done.
IU political science professor Paul Helmke says he's not surprised by the latest polls results. Helmke says when you gerrymander to give one party more control, you're basically saying the real election will happen in the primary.
When you put the election in the primary, it means that the extremes of the Republicans or the extremes of the Democrats will be the ones voting. And most people aren't on the extremes. Most people are in the middle.
Nobody really knows what's going to happen in terms of the redistricting, whether it goes through or not. But if it does, people, I think, are even more worried about how the voters of Indiana are going to respond. And according to our poll, they're not going to respond positively.
That's Emily Longnecker reporting tonight. Now, 2 other notes of interest from this poll that's just out today. The first, 2/3 of Hoosiers surveyed think that it's unfair that independent candidates have to collect thousands of signatures all to appear on a ballot for a congressional seat. Second, it found that most Hoosiers think that straight ticket voting should go away. Tonight, local organizations are reacting to a new ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. Under the deal, Hamas will release all of its hostages that they're still holding, including 20 people and the remains of 28 more. In return, Israeli troops agree to withdraw from Gaza and free hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. Local leaders of both Palestinian and Jewish organizations are saying tonight that they are hopeful that this is a step toward long-term peace.
It will be wonderful, hopefully in the next few days, to be able to celebrate their homecoming and the ceasefire and an opportunity to just return to a peaceful time and rebuild.
This could bring about the end of the relentless bombardment and forced starvation of the Palestinian people that they've been enduring for the past 2 years. It's unimaginable for them in Gaza.
So far, the 2 sides have only agreed to the first phase of the deal, with other key issues to be worked out in later phases.
Well, cooler temperatures are in our forecast, even cooler than where we were this morning, where we made it to 44. I think we'll drop another maybe 2 or 3 degrees off of that and see more widespread 30s. Now, temperatures are currently sitting in the 60s. This is already 3 or 4 degrees cooler than where we were yesterday at this time. So we've got a bit of a head start on that cooling process. We'll keep the temperatures dropping through the rest of this evening. 50s will become 40s, and I think overnight lows will be right around 40 degrees. But something to keep in mind, the temperature that we typically give you here is for the city. For most of you that are in the city, 41 degrees with clear skies and light winds mean that some of the outlying locations, once you get away from the urban heat island, are going to be much colder. And that means that a little patchy frost is going to be possible. National Weather Service has issued frost advisories essentially all along Interstate 70 and points to the north for the possibility of some patchy frost. I don't think it's going to be terribly widespread. It should be quick, and then the temperature should warm up quite nicely from these near 40-degree readings back up close to 70 by tomorrow afternoon. This is right where we should be for this time of year. A bit of a warm-up is on the way heading into the weekend. I'll outline that, and if we have any chances for rain in the forecast coming up.
Thanks, Rob. We'll check back. In the meantime, the latest headlines. A 27-year-old man is now under arrest. This is in connection to a shooting that left 3 people hurt in our community just last month. Robert Christian is now charged with aggravated battery and also battery by means of a deadly weapon. This is an incident that happened on the near southeast side along Minnesota between State and Keystone Avenues. Police say they found 2 men there shot at the scene, and a third victim showed up at the hospital. Tonight, the Indiana Association of the Deaf is calling for changes in the Wayne Township schools. This follows a lawsuit against teachers and administrators. They're accused of abusing a deaf and blind student there for years. The lawsuit says they left that student unattended, neglected to feed him, and ignored his medical needs. Today, the IAD sent a list of demands to the district that includes a district-wide review of staff, expanded training for handling deaf and blind students, and also cooperation with an independent investigation. They released a statement saying, in part, when deaf or deafblind students experience abuse, it is rarely an isolated incident. It reflects deeper systematic shortcomings, including limited communication access, inadequate training, and inconsistent accountability. Tonight, we are learning more about that Putnam County mom who was found alive after she was missing for a week. As Jenna Webster explains now, it's a case that shocked the community.
The Putnam County Sheriff says they found Brittany Gard here at the Hall Woods Nature Preserve. Now, a couple neighbors I talked to off camera say they saw a large law enforcement presence here Wednesday night, and it's just really not something they see very often. The sheriff says around 5:30 Wednesday night, Gard called 911 saying she needed help finding her way out of the woods. Dispatchers were able to give rescue crews directions to a location just 2.5 miles away from her house. The sheriff says they're not looking for any persons of interest.
Just a lot of questions that I don't have the answers to. You know, it's not something that regularly happens.
Kyle DeLong is a Bainbridge volunteer firefighter. He responded to the fire at her home on October 1st, the one called Suspicious, just the day after Gard was last heard from. While there are still questions about how the fire started or how long she was in the woods for, community members say it's a relief to hear she was found safe.
Scared, panicked, sad, praying for the family and everybody involved, and people looking for her, praying for them, that they could find her and that it was going to be a good outcome.
The sheriff says this case is still under investigation. That firefighter I talked to says as far as he knows, that fire at her house is still under investigation as well. In Bainbridge, Jenna Webster, 13 News.
The Marion County Coroner's Office says a public funeral service is now planned for later this month after an infant was found dead at Brookside Park. Officers responded to the scene back on September 1st after someone reported finding that infant's body. The funeral now set for October 25th. It will be at Washington Park East Cemetery. Also, right now, the Coroner's Office is still investigating how that infant died. Coming up, a project more than a decade in the making, now nearing the finish line. We're going to take you inside the Dig Indy tunnel system and explain how it's going to help clean up our waterways. Rob?
And the drought expands for parts of Indiana as dry weather continues. We'll talk about rain chances in the 7-day, and we'll take a look at what is happening in northern Indiana.
Indiana's blackout plates are on sale now, and it turns out they're pretty popular. How you can notice the impact during your next trip to the BMV.